Welcome back to 21 Minute Reads with me, Maya D. In these 5 minute or so videos, I share with you my takeaways from my current reading, which right now is the anthology Dance Adventures. As a part of the Read 21 in 21 challenge, I'm reading 21 minutes per day, every day as an action of self-love, as a investment into myself, and as a way of providing myself with some consistency in an ever-changing world. These videos also help me to build virtual community. It's kind of like a virtual book club. So make sure that you like, make sure that you subscribe, and make sure that you come back every week so that we can continue this dialogue. This week I read pages 51 through 108. I moved from that root section where dancers are talking about their traveling to a place where they have a hereditary connection into the community section where dancers are talking about traveling to a place and the wonderful space of building community in these spaces. So my takeaway number one is more of a reminder, but that is neo-traditional versus traditional. So the quote is going to come from, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing the name, the quote is going to come from Kara Nepomuceno, who traveled to Manila to study Pangale. The quote reads, "As I watched the dancers in many different locations, I was inspired by their individuality rather than their adherence to a codified form. They weren't reproducing a standard style or trying to perform authentically. Instead, they expressed artistry through their own distinct interpretations." So, neo-traditional versus traditional. I've talked about this before in one of the other series, but my understanding is traditional dance, vernacular dance, social dance, folk dance, whichever term you prefer, is that dance form when it's dance and being used in the place of its origin and in the context in which that dance was originated, right? Neo-traditional happens when you take that form and put it in a place where it becomes more of a performance, where it gets choreographed and becomes more of a spectacle, for lack of a better way of explaining. This is important to the dancer. This is important to the person that's teaching about dance to understand, because when I'm traveling, if I want to study a traditional form, I'm going to have to go into that space in which that form originated in order to get a deeper understanding of it. And sometimes that space is not inside of a classroom, right? That dance form is happening in the context in which it happens. It's happening actively and dynamically in that culture. So that understanding that neo-traditional and traditional speak to one another but are different are very important to the dancer that is studying abroad. Now I'm going to jump into takeaway number two, and that's the number 700. So I never knew that the Bahamas had 700 islands. Never knew that. This piece of information was shared with us in a story by Courtney Spears, who travels to the Bahamas, who travels to the Bahamas often, but in this story is traveling to the Bahamas with Ailey, which is the performance company that she's a part of. And one of the things that was so remarkable in her explanations, a colleague says, "Talk to me about the dance culture here." And she mentions that dance is still not seen as a professional career, but then speaks about the Junkanoo Festival and how the children people have been training since childhood in some cases, and the musicality, the improvisation skills, the stamina it takes to dance for hours on end. And I just thought, like, wow, rethinking, reframing how we speak about training, because as a dancer in training, aren't those the skills that you want to walk away with? Improvisation, stamina, endurance, musicality. So just thinking about reframing our minds as it relates to training. My takeaway number three is buckets. Okay, so I am a passionate person, but I can say that I don't really cry because I'm sad. I usually cry because I've been touched, right? Emotionally touched. Usually it's because I'm happy. So in this book, there are so many of those moments. These moments where the person realizes and is witnessing how they are connected to this bigger thing called life. And in reading the book, you get to be a part of that moment, or you get to see that moment or feel or read that moment. And I find myself crying because I feel like I'm there with them because of how the book is written. But also, I think that I move because this is a time where we're required to be apart. So these moments of connection are so important. So important. So I hope that you continue to connect with me next week in our video.